Damien Woody in with us as we get set for Championship Sunday. And look, the reason I say it's the best single day of the year is because, look, everybody wants to win a Super Bowl, there's no question. But you got to get to a Super Bowl to have that opportunity. And the idea that you're one step away from getting to the ultimate prize sometimes I think carries more magnitude on that day. Plus you have 4 teams and 2 games as opposed to the Super Bowl, right? Because they don't want to go, they want to win, but you got to have the opportunity.
Right.
And so many people play their whole careers just for that one chance to get there. Is that the way you guys always looked at it?
Yeah, I looked at it as this is the weekend where a loss hurts the worst. Because at least if you make it to the Super Bowl, at least you have the experience.
Right.
You've gone through it.
Right.
But to be on the doorstep, knocking at the door, and the door slam closed on you, boy, that's a painful feeling. So this is a huge, huge weekend in football.
So when we look at this weekend from the AFC side, it really seems like when you talk about what are the ways to match up and possibly beat the New England Patriots, it certainly seems like this Jacksonville team has some boxes checked in that category, especially on their defensive side.
They got pass rushers in waves. You know, we always talk about if you're going to beat New England, the number one priority is that you have to get Tom Brady off the spot. You got to rush him. They got guys that can rush, like really get after Tom Brady. Now, I will say this. The game of football is all about matchups. So, number one, who's going to match up with Gronk?
Right.
Who's going to match up with the Pats running backs, out of the backfield? Because that's a huge part of their game is matching up backs, the running backs on linebackers and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to see what Jacksonville do as far as that is concerned. And you got to be able to score touchdowns. Can Blake Bortles continue to do what he did in Pittsburgh? Like, he really played well in Pittsburgh. You can't have 3. You got to score 7 if you're going to play New England and expect to beat them in Foxborough.
Well, the one thing that's interesting is we've talked about this. Everybody should be who they are. You can't change your stripes or Jaguars. Yeah, stripes, right? Yeah, leopards would change their spots. You can't change your stripes at this point. But the idea that they're barking, okay, Jalen Ramsey gets up there at that celebration at Everbank after winning in the divisional round and says, we're going to win next week, then we're going to the Super Bowl, we're going to win that week too. Your thoughts on them being that brash about it?
I love it personally because I was that type of player. I love, talking. They're the youngest team in the league. Yeah. So it's almost one of those things where they don't know
what they don't know.
What they don't know. Yeah. This is a team that's perennially for the longest been picking in the top 5, and now all of a sudden this year they're in the AFC Championship game. So Jalen Ramsey is a really, really good player. They got a bunch of really good young players. And like you said, don't change who you are. Don't change who you are. I know you play in New England, but you have to be yourself. Be what got you to this point.
It would be something if they hadn't done it and all of a sudden started chirping, but they always do. So I'm with you. Just continue to do what you do. On that offensive side, New England does a great job of taking away what you want to do.
Right.
But it's no secret that when you play Jacksonville and they have the ball, they want to run Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
I mean, they're not saying Blake Bortles, we're going to throw him 50 times to have him beat you.
Right.
And yet, Leonard Fournette continues to rush for over 100 yards against these teams. New England has shown at times they're pretty susceptible against the run. Talk about that matchup of stopping that running game.
Well, that's a really good matchup because if there's one thing that's susceptible, New England's defense is the running game, especially on the edges. Yep. So I'm sure Jacksonville is going to try to scheme ways to take advantage of that area of New England's defense. But look, when you're playing up in Foxborough and you're playing against Coach Belichick, and they just have a way of scheming things to try to eliminate or tighten up those type of things. So I'm pretty sure the guys on defense, they're getting the message loud and clear from that defensive staff with New England. Stop the run first.
Well,
put the ball in Blake Bortles' hand. And if Blake Bortles beats us, then
congratulations to him.
Congratulations to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep. But we want to make Blake Bortles beat us.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we talked about this on this show and also on NFL Live. The one thing that wasn't going to happen against Tennessee, the headline wouldn't be Derrick Henry runs way to past New England.
Right.
I mean, they held Derrick Henry, to 30-something yards in that game. Mm-hmm. So they're going to try and take Leonard Fournette out. And that ankle injury probably helps them a little bit too that he suffered in that game against Pittsburgh. Can Blake Bortles make the throw? He doesn't have to make a ton. Can he make enough throws? The throws he did against Pittsburgh, can he make those throws against New England? That's the whole thing, right?
That's tough. New England, if there's a strength in New England's defense, it's their secondary.
Yep.
They have some really good players on the back end.
Not early. They gelled. They gelled well during the season.
Absolutely. So Blake Bortles, he's not only going to have to make the right read, but he's going to have to make throws in tight windows,
right?
Because they're going to be plastered all over those Jaguars receivers. So, listen, he had a great game against Pittsburgh last week. Can he duplicate again in Foxborough?
Yeah. That's a question. You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. We saw that 3-game stretch in the regular season where he was lights out, and then, of course, last 2 weeks of the regular season in the game against Buffalo, he was terrible, and then he came back and had a really solid game against Pittsburgh. Big man, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, athlete.
Thanks, athlete.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They give those rings to athletes. You got one of those nice
They do.
ones.
Listen, I always say, as far as ask Tim Hasselbeck about my athletic ability.
He's got ability. We got more ability to talk about things. Wow, hard out.